Today, we're going to dig into some ancient wisdom to solve a very, very modern problem. How do we find any kind of inner peace in a world that just never stops?
You know the feeling, right? You see a problem, you jump in to fix it, and somehow you only end up making things more complicated, more stressful. So why does this happen over and over again? Well, it usually follows this really predictable three-step pattern, and it all kicks off with this.
It always starts with an impulse. You know, that gut feeling, that flash of emotion, or that overwhelming sense of urgency that just screams at you to act now.
And that impulse, it triggers an immediate, almost automatic reaction. We feel this intense pressure to just do something, anything, without even taking a breath to think it through.
And far, far too often, the result is, well, regret. We're left cleaning up a mess, feeling that inner turmoil, and just wondering, where did I go wrong?
So this whole cycle, impulse, reaction, regret, it points to a much deeper issue. It brings us to the core problem we're exploring today, a fundamental flaw in the way we approach action itself.
I mean, think about it. In our world, we're constantly pushed to react instantly. But here's the thing, our actions rarely come from a place of clear, calm understanding. Nope, they're usually driven by raw impulse. And while acting on impulse can feel decisive in the moment, it's really just a fast track to burnout and that feeling of being totally lost, even if we get the result we thought we wanted.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the alternative? For that, we're going to turn to the Bhagavad Gita, which offers a completely different and frankly revolutionary sequence for how to live and act.
Now, pay close attention to the order of operations here. It is so important. It doesn't say act first and then maybe find some wisdom later. It's the exact opposite. First, you get established in wisdom, and then you perform the action. This simple reversal, it's a total game changer.
Let's break that down into a powerful three-step formula. Step 1, establish wisdom. You see the situation for what it really is. Step 2, you perform the necessary action. And step 3, the outcome is peace. And notice it's peace regardless of the external result. The sequence is absolutely everything.
And this verse is basically the warning label for what happens when you skip that first step. The Gita is crystal clear. When you're just chasing a result, you become bound. You lose your freedom. You're a slave to the outcome. Wisdom, on the other hand, is your refuge. It's your safe harbor from the chaos of just reacting to everything.
So let's put these two side by side, because this is the whole game. Acting from impulse is reactive. It's all about getting a specific result, and it almost always creates that inner disturbance we've been talking about. But acting from wisdom, that's discerning. It seeks clarity first, and the result is inner coherence, a mind that isn't at war with itself.
Okay, I know this can all sound a little abstract, a little philosophical, so let's ground it in a real-world example that makes this concept impossible to miss.
So picture this, a family dealing with some pretty serious financial stress. It's a high-stakes situation where impulses like fear, and especially the desire for control, can easily take the wheel.
And when wisdom is just not in the picture, look at the toxic patterns that start to show up. First, you get impulsive financial decisions that lead to losses. But instead of accountability, what happens? Blame gets passed around to other family members. Then you start seeing duty being imposed on people without giving them any real authority. Responsibility is demanded, but no resources are provided to meet it. And finally, criticism just completely takes the place of real accountability. It's a classic downward spiral, all fueled by action without insight.
And this whole mess leads us to a really profound question. Is the conflict here really about the money, or is it about a fundamental failure of perception? The Gita would argue that the root cause isn't the lack of money, but the lack of wisdom before the action.
This distinction brings us to another subtle but incredibly powerful insight from the Gita. The true goal of all this, it isn't what we usually think of as happiness. It's something else.
The goal is peace. And peace, in this context, is an internal state. It's that feeling you get when your actions are perfectly aligned with your understanding, when you don't have to argue with yourself or justify your choices to yourself. Wisdom guarantees the state of peace.
Let's really compare the two. Peace is guaranteed by your inner state. It doesn't matter if you win or lose on the outside. It's about internal coherence. Happiness, on the other hand, well, that often depends on getting a specific outcome, on getting that external validation. It's fleeting. It's unreliable. The Gita basically asks, which one do you want to bet your life on?
And this verse just ties it all together beautifully. When you achieve that inner clarity, which is just another word for wisdom, suffering dissolves.
Not because the world changed, but because your relationship to it changed. Your mind becomes steady, and that is peace.
So this all sounds great, right? But how do you actually get there? Well, the Gita doesn't frame this as some lofty, unattainable goal. It frames it as a practical, learnable skill.
This skill is called karmic intelligence. Now, when you hear the word karma, don't think of some cosmic payback system. In this context, karma simply means action and its natural consequences. So karmic intelligence isn't some mystical ideal. It's the incredibly practical ability to pause, to see a situation clearly before you slap a judgment on it, and to understand before you act. It's a fundamental skill for finding balance in our chaotic lives.
So, the crucial point, the ultimate takeaway, is this. The Bhagavad Gita is not telling us to withdraw from the world or to stop acting. Not at all. It's telling us to fix the sequence. It's about seeing clearly first, and then acting with the undeniable force of that clarity.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to take with you. Think about your day ahead. What is one decision, one conversation, or one simple action where you can consciously hit pause and just try to find that little bit of clarity first? That one small shift, that could be the beginning of a much more peaceful and much more effective way of living. Thanks for tuning in.